So over the last few years, you will know probably that the Ministries Department have funded what we used to call the one worker per presbytery scheme, where there was an opportunity for presbyteries to apply for full funding for a particular project ministry within the presbytery. This has been relaunched from January this year. However, there is a slight difference. What we are looking to fund now is pioneer ministry. That is a fresh approach, a fresh look at what ministry might look like, especially in the light of the last 2 years. I'm not sure how those two years have affected you as local churches or even as a presbytery. But what this gives us an opportunity to do is to examine what we think we want to hold on to, what we think is valuable from our past with respect to ministry. But as well, we want to realize that our context has changed dramatically, and the way that we do ministry needs to reflect that change. So it's an exciting opportunity for presbyteries to sit down either with a group of churches or a local church or as a presbytery and dream a dream with respect to pioneering new ministries, new ways of presenting the gospel. And as I noted, this is funding for each and every presbytery, and I hope that people will be excited about this possibility and see this not so much as in place of what's already going on, but as an extension of what you as churches, what you as presbyteries do with respect to ministry, and will force us into thinking of pioneering ways of doing new ministry within our communities. So I'm sure that, most of the ministry that you're about can be described as pioneering. I think even traditional ordained ministry has to be pioneering to a large extent, as does traditional ministry with children, young people, with families, etc. However, what we are looking towards here is stretching that further. So whether you're planting a new work, planting a new ministry, for example, would that be ministry which had a specific focus on interest? So would it be trying to reach people with the gospel through the medium of drama? Or we have a project, for example, in Southwest Wales where we've funded an individual to begin a project which seeks to reach people through the increased interest now in environmental concerns. So he's intending on basing his ministry around some allotments, and there'll be a shed on the allotment, and discussions will flow from our understanding of God as creator and hoping to create a community of people who are considering what that means practically, and at the same time how they serve their community by growing produce, etc. Another project we are funding in Northeast Wales rather, is creating a community hub alongside one of our traditional churches up there, and seeing how pioneering work through that hub would seek to meet the needs of that community, whether that's through things that we know, like food banks, etc., or credit unions, but also in new ways. It's always a challenge, isn't it, to find ways of speaking into our context and speaking into the context of the communities that we live in, and we understand that changes all the time. And projects that come that show an eagerness to pioneer, to be looking for new ways of reaching these people, are the kind of projects that the Ministries Department are looking to support. With respect to making an application, I think it can start either by a local church or a group of people within that church, or within a group of churches or a pastorate where they have a dream. They've discerned something of a vision given to them, and they want to be praying through that, and they want to be looking at other examples perhaps, or learning from others' experience. Or it might be a presbytery through its strategy plan, through its ministries committee, looking at opportunities of beginning pioneer ministries, perhaps in a part of the presbytery or with a group of churches in presbytery. What we're looking for is for people to be thinking creatively, taking advantage of the resource that's available, and then simply once that discussion begins, I would urge presbyteries or local churches to be working together on this and to work together with the officers of the ministries department as well. I think, in the work of putting a trellis together to hold that kind of a work and drafting a job description or a role description or having a look at what costs might be involved. If you do that with the officers of the ministries department from the beginning, that means that then when the vision is clarified and an application is made to the ministries department, the possibilities of realizing your aspirations with respect to these pioneer ministries hopefully will be realized and realized in good time. Applications are received through presbytery to the ministries department, and hopefully we'll see presbyteries taking advantage of this opportunity over the next months.
It's based on Colossians 1, a poem in Colossians 1 that Paul uses. A poem about how Christ is the Lord of all creation, and that for Paul is good news. And so Christ has created all things, Christ holds things together, but now Christ is Lord of all things, and all things have been reconciled to him, all things in creation. And so the project, the ministry, is really about that good news, trying to put that good news into action, the reconciliation of all things, so God and humans and their environment. And so ideas for practical ministry would be to grow food, to deal with issues of food injustice, to put that wrongs right, helping people interact with creation by growing food, connecting with the soil for their own well-being, to encourage people to interact with creation for their own flourishing, so to reconnect. It's about reconnecting the disconnections really that we've got in society now in the modern world, disconnected from one another, disconnected from our environment, and disconnected from God. And so we're hoping that people, by connecting with their environment, with the soil, with creation, in some way they will then find their way back to some connection with God through the gospel of the Apostle Paul. So that's the project. There are many ideas, but we'll see which come to fruition. This new Ministries fund will enable me to bring the good news of Jesus Christ in a way that suits myself, and my passions, my gifts, and so it enables me to step outside of ordinary pastoral ministry to this new ministry of using my passions to bring Jesus' good news to our world in new ways. And people have different gifts, and so the New Ministries Fund is great to be able to do that, to enable people to use their gifts and their passions to bring the gospel in contextual ways to the modern world. I hope that this ministry be used so that people come to know God, the God of creation, and so that they come to interact with Him through interacting with His creation. And so they come to experience God, the God who not only created but also reconciles and redeems people's lives and heals people's lives. The God of flourishing, the God of solidarity with us, and the God of we meet in His world, and the God of Jesus. And so that's my hope for the ministry, that people come to know the love of God, not the God of our own making or the God of stereotypes, but the true God that we see around us, we interact with around us, and we hear His good news through the gospel.
So we planted Ffynnon Church 3 years ago in the heart of Llandysul, and we've started things in those 3 years to try and reach different people in the community. And one of those things is Dioni, so it means goodness in Welsh. For young girls, we felt that there's a culture of girls where they tear each other down instead of building each other up. So we really wanted to create a community where girls would be encouraging towards each other, and that we would be there for people to listen to them, and also doing creative things. So we do different crafts or cook, or we do different creative things that allows us to talk with them and build each other up. Yeah, so we, my husband and Rhys, who works with us, do a boys' night for young guys who are interested in reading the Bible together. But obviously, young guys are notoriously bad at opening up. So they mostly play football together, try to have a chat while doing that, and then they look at the Bible together and have more of a chat about those. And there's also leadership opportunities they've given to the young guys to lead in Ffynnon or lead in the boys group. So that's going well, yeah. So in the next few weeks we want to start opening Ffynnon up a bit more for the community. We saw when we arrived here there's a real lack of community spaces in the village, like many villages in the countryside. And so we want to open up Ffynnon a couple of days a week for coffee a chlanc, so for people to come in and have coffee and cake, and a chance to have community and someone to listen to them, and yeah, just to have a nice time, whoever's at home really. So through the activities we do, our aim is to be at the heart of the community, serving people, loving people in different ways by offering space, people to listen to them, and also by sharing with them about how God sees them. I think people want to hear about how God sees them. We want to show them their worth, that God gave His Son to die for them, and we want to show them how much God loves them, and that God could transform lives and can transform this community. I would say to churches in Wales is that Jesus promised us that the harvest is plentiful. So there are people in your community who are ready to hear about the love of Jesus. And there are people in your community that are in need of someone to listen to them, in need of a space to gather, in need of community. And if you're thinking of starting something new, to step out in faith, because Jesus promises us that he'll be there before us, ahead of us, and that he's the one that does the work. So he's the one that works in people's hearts, and he's the one that does the transformational work. For us to trust him that he's faithful, and that if we step out and start something new, that he will be faithful to us, and that people will be interested in new things.
Wel, y syniad wedi dod o'r ysgobaeth ei hun. Nathon nhw roi cais i fewn at cronfa mwyn cael arian i wneud prosiectau yn yr ysgobaeth. Prosiectau i wneud efo efengylu. A wedyn ges i yn trwyddedu ac yn cyflogi i gymryd rhan o'r prosiect yna, sef y cynllun iaith sydd wedi ei lleoli yma yn Bethesda. A wedyn y syniad oedd iddyn ni gwneud gwaith arloesol o fewn y gymuned ac i meithrin bobl ifanc i weld os oes gen nhw rhyw fath o alwedigaeth i fewn i'r weinidogaeth ac yn rhoi y cyfle iddyn nhw gwario blwyddyn ar y tro yn cyd-fyw efo'i gilydd mewn rhyw fath o gymuned, gweithio yn y gymuned ehangach, cael cyfle i astudio a hefyd jyst gwario'r amser yna yn sbïo fewn os oes gen nhw rhyw fath o alwedigaeth. Ac y peth pwysig oedd i roi y cyfle i bobl, falle sy'n heb di sylweddoli bod yna posibilrwydd o gwneud y ffasiwn beth, ac yn jyst yn cerdded efo nhw trwy'r broses hynny a roi y cyfle iddyn nhw. Wel, dwi'n dal i ddechrau dweud y gwir. Dwi wedi bod yma bron i flwyddyn rwan, a dwi'n meddwl dwi wedi dysgu y pwysigrwydd o gwario'r amser i rando'n gyntaf. Y peth cyntaf fedrwch chi wneud wrth cychwyn unrhyw beth o'r newydd fel hyn ydy jyst dod i nabod yr ardal, dod i nabod y bobl, dod i nabod y gymuned, be maen nhw'n poeni amdano fo, be di'r gwendida, lle mae'r anghenion, lle mae'r cryfdera. A wedyn mae hynna wedyn yn gosod sail i weld lle fedra i cymryd rhan mewn rhywbeth sydd yn mynd ymlaen yn barod falle, neu cychwyn rhywbeth o'r newydd sydd falle bod yna gap yn rhywle, does na ddim byd yn cael ei ddarparu'n barod. Ond mae o'n rili pwysig pan ydych chi'n cychwyn i peidio roed y pwysau yna yn ormodol bod rhaid i chi gychwyn rhywbeth o'r dechrau a bod o'r rhedag yn syth. Doedd dim byd yn gweithio felly. Mae rhaid i chi gymryd yr amser i gweld yn gyntaf be ydy'r anghenion. Pa fath o gymuned dwi'n byw ac yn rhan ohonddi, a beth sydd yn mynd ymlaen yn barod. I'm really lucky to live here in Bethesda because it's such a pioneering and active community already before I got here. There's so many opportunities to get involved with voluntary activities. So I've been able to do things like litter picks and keep parts of the town tidy and clear, including here in the woods. There's also some community allotments up at Plas Francon, so I've been able to go up there and take part in creating a community garden, digging stuff and assembling things and planting trees, which was just wonderful. There's also sometimes little trips to go out and pull up some invasive species like, not Japanese knotweed, the other one, Himalayan balsam. And then you meet another group of people who are interested in doing that. And each time you get involved in a community activity, you meet a different group of people who are out there doing things for their community and their environment. And then you find common ground and interesting conversations happen just at random, and it sometimes can take you somewhere you didn't expect to go. And it's just always an opportunity to be part of your community and also to see what you can offer and what you can also receive. When I moved here last year, I didn't know where to start exactly, and we were just coming out of lockdown, and I was aware that people were still feeling quite nervous about meeting together. So I thought the first thing to do was try and meet outside. So I created an opportunity to come together for some informal outdoor worship, and I just advertised it all over the place, and I set up a Facebook group, and I just thought I'll see what happens. And then to my surprise, people did come, and we've kept on meeting since then, and I think it's been a combination of meeting outside where people feel more comfortable and also reconnecting with our environment and knowing how good it is for us, for our mental health and for our physical health, to be outside. And also we've just been able to really enjoy having this opportunity to come together and sing and pray and have some kind of reflection outside. And over this past year we've become quite a close group of people, and they're all unconnected from each other in some ways, and they've come to know each other through this. And then almost accidentally connected to that, when we were practicing carols for what we did over Christmas, we were meeting on a Thursday evening, and it went so well that after Christmas was over, nobody wanted to stop. So we've kept on going. We meet every week just to come together and jam, and we sing and people play instruments, and sometimes we're practicing for something particular and we go over hymns, and other times we just practice whatever we feel like, and somebody will say, I really want to perform this, and then we'll all do that. And so it's been a real pleasure and a privilege to be part of that and to watch this group of people grow together. And there's been some real magic moments, and in the middle of practicing for something or just singing, we stop, and sometimes we have these really deep conversations that are unexpected but lead into new areas where we just think about things on a deeper level together, and then we go back to singing again. And it's just, I think, an example of how things can be so organic and natural. They just grow from what you thought you were going to do, and it turns out into something else. And I think that's what you need to bear in mind as well if you're pioneering anything, is just be prepared to go where it flows, because you just don't know how people are going to react and who's going to come along, and then what might happen because of that. I think the first thing I'd say, and maybe the only thing I would say really, is just go for it. Just try it. What have you got to lose, really? I think the worst thing you can do is decide that you're not going to, that you can't do it, you don't have the resources or the people or whatever, and that is an issue. But if you don't try it, you're still not going to have anybody either. And there is so much out there. There are people who really want to be part of something, to be part of their communities, to show care for one another. And there are older people, there are younger people, there are vulnerable people, and you can do something. And the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't turn into what you thought it would. But on the flip side to that, it might turn into something you had no idea that you would expect to happen. And you'll discover that you are being enriched by what you're doing as much as you are enriching other people. And we are part of a community, a part of a faith community that believes in good news. So we should be taking that good news wherever we go, that we believe in people and that we think there is a potential in every single person we meet. And let's be honest with ourselves. If we don't do something now, in 10, 20 years, who's going to be left in our churches? These buildings that we love and treasure, and yet we can't look after them. We need to be going out and connecting with people where they are now and joining in with them in the journeys that they're on and coming alongside them and offering them something that we can offer them because we have it. Just go for it. You won't regret it.